There were never going to be easy solutions to Syria. So much blood has been spilled and so many lives lost. In a region where the credibility of the West has been shattered since the Iraq War. So it wasn't difficult to see why the West chose to sit this one out. The British military seemed reluctant to get involved. Or so it seemed. Senior defence sources have told Newsnight that Britain did, in fact, have a secret plan for intervening in Syria. It was the brainchild of General David Richards, Britain's most senior officer, who told Downing Street there were only two ways of ending the bloodshed quickly. The first was to let Assad win. The second was to defeat him. To defeat him, he recommended training and equipping a substantial army of Syrian rebels. The plan was not without risks, but doing nothing, he argued, was the worst of all options. The plan was called Extract, Equip, Train. 100,000 Syrian rebels would be vetted, recruited, and taken out of the country, probably to Jordan and Turkey, for training by Western countries, including the UK and Gulf allies. Once the army was ready, after around 12 months, it would march on Damascus. The army would do so under the cover of Western and Gulf air power, a shock and awe attack that would allow the Syrians themselves to defeat Assad. Amid the chaos and carnage, this offered a middle ground between training and insurgency and the politically impossible notion of putting Western boots on the ground.
It's been humbling, I can't tell you.
A veteran of many conflicts and regarded as an arch-pragmatist, General Richards had a team of defence analysts fleshing out his ideas. Newsnight has been told that the idea was considered by David Cameron and also by counterparts in Washington, including General Martin Dempsey, America's most senior military officer. Over here, the Attorney General, Dominic Grieve, was asked to consider the legalities, and the plan was sent to the National Security Council, but not formally discussed. Ultimately, Downing Street decided not to support the idea.
There was a sense of exhaustion that we don't want to get involved in yet another Middle East conflict coming out of Iraq and coming out of Afghanistan. This was not the right time. There is an increasing scepticism in Downing Street to take military advice. There has been a difference between the military and the politicians. I've never seen them as far apart as they now seem to be. And they don't disagree with each other, but they are on different planes in many cases.
But if the Richards plan sounds like an extract from the What If manual of military history, think again. 2 years on, and the arguments are turning full circle. Direct Western involvement suddenly seems a possibility. Last week, Barack Obama asked Congress to authorize a $500 million program to train an army of hand-picked rebels. As Newsnight discovered recently, the president too has been on a journey.
I did advocate for limited but focused action in Syria to try to vet, train, and equip moderate opponents of Assad.
And you were overruled by the president.
I was overruled, in part because of the lessons from Iraq.
I think President Obama's present plan has echoes of what was being talked about 2 years ago in 2012. The difference then was that in 2012 the conditions were more favourable to something like this having a useful influence, if not working completely. Now the plan is probably too little too late and is being enacted in a situation which is getting worse, not better. Western policymakers, in a sense, have got to have the courage to do nothing and to work on what comes after that civil war.
Evidence of chemical weapons attacks in Syria last year finally persuaded David Cameron to seek Commons authority for military action. He lost. Yesterday saw the final phase of an operation to destroy Syria's chemical weapons. The handover has been a rare success for the international community. Syria remains in chaos, and there is deep regret among some Syrian opposition leaders who wish the West had intervened long ago and are still urging greater support.
The international community did not intervene to prevent those crimes. At the same time, also did not actively supported the moderate elements on the ground. A huge opportunity was missed, and that opportunity could have saved tens of thousands of lives, actually, and could have saved also a huge humanitarian catastrophe.
In Iraq and Afghanistan, the West intervened aggressively and came to regret it. In Syria, it has done very little. And the question remains, is that a lesson learned or an opportunity lost?